Truth, lies, shenanigans. 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 Truth, lies, shenanigans.
Oh yeah.
Hey, it's time for Truth Lies Shenanigans. My name is Neo, and I'll be your guide through all the shenanigans today. And for today's show, our co-hosts are our professor and sports guru, Liz E.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Hope you guys are humping around safely.
And the man, the legend, Mr. Silent Dwarf himself, Mr. East.
Hey, happy tax day, everybody. File your taxes.
Oh, wow, today is tax day. I forgot about that.
File your taxes.
And joining us for the very first time, the Mauritian, Mr. Avi.
Thank you for having me on. Great to have, incredible, beautiful people on the show, co-hosting with you guys, intelligent, and Liz as well.
And you and Liz as well.
Shots fired already.
Uh-oh, shade already.
Already. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that
Open
my
up with the
outdoor
shade.
voice?
I
I
love
think
it.
he just because I still have my full mane, and the last time I saw him, he had a little bit of hair, and now he has like the dome.
Uh-oh.
The dome.
Uh-oh. You joined us? You joined us, Avi? You joined the group?
I'm just saying, right? Three of us have it. That's kind of like in fashion, right? Is that how it works? That's the trend, right?
We'll see you bald the next show, okay?
Or
All
it
right,
could be
guys.
just this show right here. That could be the show.
Could be. We could do it. All right. Our host will be talking about a lot today. Really good show. The Washington football team, Trump justifying police violence against blacks, Nick Cannon getting fired, bad tippers, Hong Kong Disney shuts down as Orlando Disney opens up. There's a lot to cover, so let's get right to it. Now remember, we are live just about everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Periscope. Check us out. Make sure you're commenting online. Also, share, retweet. We need your help getting the word out. All right? And as always, make sure you join in that conversation. We want to hear those comments so we can call them out. Now, what is Truth, Lies, and Shenanigans all about? It's about us sharing our truth with you, calling out those lies out there, and pointing out the shenanigans going on. And on this show, we try to have some fun with some shenanigans of our own. And we have just one single rule. One
You
rule
wrote
for
me
the show.
beautiful letters, and they're great letters.
Curse as much as you
We
can.
fell in love.
Cuss as much as you can.
No cussing on the show. No cussing. All right? So if you cuss, it's a $10 penalty. And if you guys are caught 3 times in the same show, and our viewers will call you out, you're writing a love letter to Mr. Clown himself, and it'll be posted on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. All right?
So once Liz hits 100, what does she have to do again?
No, that's not. So once we get to 100, we're going to donate that money to an undecided charity.
To the Chanel bag fund.
Right
Let's
now
see
she's
if we
at
can do
80.
that
She's got
tonight
2
then.
more. So not the Chanel bag fund.
Challenge accepted.
Oh, challenge! You're gonna get her. Okay. All right. So Avi.
She's doing half the work for me.
So Avi's first time on the show. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience? Give us an idea of who you are.
Right. I would say a long-time listener, but I haven't really been paying that much attention because other stuff happens. So everybody knows we all went to school together, then went to college, and then kind of left the continent for a while. Then came back with, left the continent. Not the outer space or anything like that. Came back with excess baggage. And settle down in the.
Oh. He means kids, people. He means kids.
Where's the love?
Really 5 minutes into the show.
Horrible.
Apparently, I get fined if I use certain words.
Wow.
So,
All right, Avi. So we didn't tell you this, but I know you watch the show enough. Guest hosts have an initiation we call the hot seat.
bring it.
It's your first time, so the way this works, I'm going to ask you a set of rapid-fire questions, and you'll just say the first thing that comes to your mind. All right? Real simple. You ready? All right, let's go. So, cruise to the Caribbean or backpacking in the Rockies?
Ooh, backpacking the Rockies.
Seriously? Well, I guess now.
For a cruise? I mean, come on now.
Okay.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, still pre-COVID. Hang out with all
still
those people on a
backpacking.
boat where I can't leave. Come on now.
All right, London or New York?
Ooh.
London.
London better than New York. Okay. Happiness or wealth?
Oh, wealth, easily. Wealth brings you happiness.
An unhappy
It's not
rich
even a
dude. Okay, I
question.
got you. Unhappy rich dude.
More money, more problems.
Bring them. Bring them.
All right. So, would you rather win $10,000 or East win $100K and not share?
No, I'd rather win.
Yeah,
10K. Dang, that's messed
I
up.
know it. Yeah, I know it.
Come on now.
Flash speed or Superman flight?
Wait, what was that? Flash speed is. I'm going with flight.
Flight.
Superman.
Better actor?
Yeah.
Idris Elba or Denzel Washington?
Got to go Denzel. Come on
Yes,
now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Idris is. He needs to stick with his English accent because he can't pull the American accent off too well.
All right.
Actually, he did pretty well in The Wire. I mean, it
Well,
slipped
in the
through.
wire, yeah.
Have you heard Molly's Game? Molly's Game? He just dropped all Molly's Game. It was on Netflix. He dropped all pretense.
Go watch The Wire. He was good in The Wire. String a bell.
I have watched The Wire many a times. I know. I get it.
String a bell.
All right. Who's hotter, Elsa from Frozen or Jasmine from Aladdin?
Jasmine.
Okay. Last question. Better host, Neo, Lizzie, or East?
Me.
Good answer. Good answer. Good job. Good job. All right. So you're off the hot seat. Now, we always start our show with a random question so you can learn more about our host each and every show. So, hosts, here's your question. If you had invented a contraption where you could talk to your 14-year-old self just for 5 minutes, what would you say to your 14-year-old self? Let's see, who's not thinking too hard? East.
I'm ready.
What would you tell your 14-year-old self?
Don't ever quit.
Don't ever quit. I like it.
Regardless of what happens, don't ever quit. Overcome all obstacles. Keep fighting.
Avi?
Work harder
Work
and play harder. Yeah. Work harder and play harder.
Okay.
Both of those things. I think laziness was too rampant early on.
Fair enough. Lizzie?
Probably 14-year-old Liz, you were not mistaken when you saw Chris Crop kissing some other girl in the corner at the bus stop on Wisconsin Avenue. That's what I
That's
thought.
what you were. That's what you would say.
All the knowledge that we require.
I started to this day. There was one moment where I started started to doubt myself. I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't him. No, it was you, bruh. It was you.
All right.
Or I should have said buy Google stock or something.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too. I mean,
Apple back in when we were 14.
so
I mean,
I think I just tell myself that girls aren't that scary. I just keep it real simple. Girls aren't, because girls were a little scary back then. Oh yeah, I was a little scared of girls.
you
Scared
had
to
a
talk to girls.
lady.
Huh? Who? I don't know who you're talking about. What'd you say? I couldn't hear you.
Oh my
I'm not getting a good connection. I might need to turn your mic up. I didn't hear all that. So. All right. So before we do our business spotlight, let's get some shout outs in. By the way, Ernest Cooper said he's gonna tell Chris. All right. All right, Lizzie, what shout outs you got today?
Shout out to my sister. I'm not sure if she's watching tonight, but if she is, and then hopefully if Miss Daria Winter joins us this evening, shout out to her. She is my bestie's mama and my fellow professor at Howard University. So, hey, girl, hey.
All right, East.
All right. I have two random shout outs. Shout out to Kanye West for dropping his ill-advised presidential campaign. And shout out to the notorious RGB. We need Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Stole my shout out. Why you steal my shout out?
6 more months, please.
Man, I want her armor. I want her body armor.
I don't know how she is. I mean, she's gotten over pancreatic cancer. She's gotten over it. 3 types of cancer. I mean, she's still sticking in there.
Probably had corona twice.
Probably. She might have been patient number 1. Who knows? So,
Patient 0.
patient 0, right? Avi.
Well, first, the governor of Oklahoma, who has contracted coronavirus, the COVID, because it doesn't exist. I just want to wish him the same thing that all the others have had when they have COVID: go into the hospital, be by the lows himself, and experience all of that firsthand, and then he can come out and tell us all how it was. The second shout out is to the governor of Mississippi, who actually used numbers and proved to people why the herd immunity will not actually work in combating COVID.
Okay. All right. Well, my shout out was to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I'm going to shout out my wife again. She was our business spotlight of the week last week, and thank you for coming on. I thought it was a great spotlight. So,
I have a question for you
Yep.
and Mel. How did the reopening go on Monday?
Went pretty good. I mean, it's slow. People are still trying to get comfortable with coming back to gyms and feeling if that's okay. So it went when it's expected. I mean, she's had a couple of full classes, so a couple of light classes, but people trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure it out. So.
Guys, shout out to Contact and Fitness, you guys. Yes.
All right. So
Still scared though.
yeah, people are still scared. They're not confident. So, but that takes us to our small business spotlight of the day today. So our special guest today, the spotlight is on Maria Gabriela Gutierrez of Wylo, your online dry cleaning and wash service.
Maria!
Welcome,
Hi,
Maria.
everybody.
How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, Maria, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, Wylo?
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Maria Gutierrez. I am from Venezuela, and I've been living in the U.S. for 9 years, here in Greenville, Maryland. And I founded Wylo. We opened in February last year. We are the first online washing and fold service in Maryland. So how it works, we offer free pickup and delivery, and you can use our platform online, which is our app and our website, to schedule your free pickup.
Wow. So online dry cleaning. That's an amazing
Yes.
thing. So nobody has to go. So how are your prices?
Our prices are very competitive, pretty much the same pricing that you will pay in a regular full service dry cleaning. And we don't have any extra fees for pickup and delivery. So that means now in COVID time, it's pretty convenient because you don't have to get out of your house to go to the dry cleaners or the laundry service store. You can just drop off your bag outside of your home, and we just go there, pick it up, and then deliver it back to you when it's done.
So full disclosure, my wife uses Wylo all the time. Well, I don't know COVID, and that's going to be part of my question. But COVID has, I'm using fewer and fewer shirts. But we use Wylo. We were using Wylo all the time, and it's a great, great service. They come right to your door, pick up what you need, bring it back in a couple of days or less. It's been great. Great service.
Well,
So I have a
definitely
question.
COVID has impacted us.
No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Maria. Go ahead.
Because since people are working from home, definitely they are using less working attire, which is usually what people get to the dry cleaners. However, we start offering more aggressively the washing and fold service, and that's what has been keeping us kind of floating.
Smart. That's smart. Go ahead, Lizzie.
Yes.
You had a question?
So my question was, why dry cleaning? Like, what made you choose dry cleaning for your small business?
Because I didn't like to go to the dry cleaners myself, so I always struggle because I forgot to pick it up, or I forgot to put it in my car and then go to the cleaners. Usually, when I was available to go, the cleaners were closed because they're closing usually
Hours are really
Sundays.
bad. Yep.
Or hours are usually our normal schedule for work hours. So my husband and I started thinking about how can we do it better so it could be more convenient for everyone to use. And also I feel like the dry cleaning industry has been kind of forgotten for so long. So more people haven't put much thoughts and technology into it. And that was another reason why we kind of wanted to kind of put those things together, technology plus the dry cleaning service itself.
No,
So
I
you're
mean,
in,
no, I was just gonna say I use the cleaners. Well, pre-COVID, I got the majority of my clothes dry cleaned, like toiletries or underwear, the t-shirts and things like that. I cleaned myself, but my professional closet, if you will, was always through the dry cleaners. And then now with COVID, I mean, I haven't gotten any of that stuff cleaned. Like there's still like a big ball of stuff that needs to be dry cleaned, in my closet. So this is a great idea. I love it. I absolutely love the idea.
East, you had a
But
question?
great, since you don't like to go out because of COVID, definitely we can help you. So don't hesitate to contact us.
Actually,
Right.
East, before you ask your question, that brings up a good point. So it's actually a good opportunity now because everyone, even though of course you probably lost some business from people not staying at home, but it seems like it's a good opportunity because people don't want to leave their homes either. So how's that?
Yeah. So couple of orders come in still for dry cleaning because people, for example, if they're using Zoom meetings and things like that,
Yeah,
they're
like for
still
myself.
wearing kind of some working attires to attend to those meetings. So we get a couple of dry cleaning orders in, and the fact that we are convenient because they don't really need to go anywhere. It's been really helpful for us. However, we have felt the sales dropped due
Of
to
course.
COVID.
Yeah,
Anyway.
of course. You kind of have to change with the times, and it takes a minute to kind of make that adjustment. East, you had a question?
Yeah, I know that you service in and around the Washington D.C. metro area. So, do you service the entire metro area, around the Beltway, or could you just tell the audience the areas that you service?
Right.
Well, our service area focus more in the north part of Washington D.C. and Maryland. We are not going to Virginia just yet. Hopefully, we will be able to expand soon and cover the entire metropolitan area. But right now we are more focusing on North DC and Maryland area.
Javi, did you have a question?
Well, the area doesn't cover me, so I'm feeling
Sure,
I'm kind of
come
disappointed
on.
because I love the concept is fantastic because as you all are aware, I am quite lazy, so this would be suited perfectly, and I'm more intrigued by the concept because I think that's something that's you can easily replicate and grow a really good business around that.
Is it something that you plan to franchise at some point?
We will love to do that, to get to the point that we are able to replicate this and franchise it. Definitely, it's easy to do. We need to get a little bit more solid first, and then we will definitely be open to franchise it.
Awesome.
So, in terms of washing and folding, do you charge by the pound? Do you allow consumers to use their own detergent? How can you just kind of explain that?
We charge per pound, and we use our own detergent and everything. But if the customer requires, for example, unsensed detergent because they are allergic to soap or scents, then we definitely accommodate those special requirements for our customers.
So let me know. So tell me, what is it like being a woman-owned Latina business? Well, what is it like being as a business owner? Is it struggles? Is it easy? What are you finding?
Well, I think that being a business owner is really hard, and regardless who you are. However, definitely being an immigrant is a challenge because I really didn't know exactly how the system works, meaning taxes and how to register a company. I didn't have a lawyer. I still don't have a lawyer. And where to go, all the taxes that you have to pay, and all the accounting, everything has been really difficult because in my country, it's a different system. So it's been a learning curve, not only just learning about business, learning about how to execute whatever we're doing, but also that side of the business, it's been really, really tough.
Yeah, I bet. All right. Well, why don't you tell everyone how they can find you online and tell us, the web address and all you have a Facebook page as well, right?
Sure. We're very excited because this week we are launching our new website, so please check it out. It's www.getwylo.com. Also, you can find us in all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at getwylo.
Oh, before we go, how did you come up with the name Wylo?
Well, that's kind of a funny story. Originally, I was inspired because we just adopted a dog, and I was looking like a catchy name, pretty easy to remember, 4 letters. And then his adoptive name was Kylo, which is the bad guy of Star Wars. And then I started changing the first letter. Then I was like, oh, let me try with W because for washing, So it was like, Wylo, I like how it sounds. And then after that, a friend of mine, when I was kind of telling her about the name and everything, she was like, oh, but it can stand for Wash Your Laundry Online.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So that was a pretty cool coincidence, actually.
That's really good.
Really meant to do like that.
That's really good.
But
That's
it was
awesome.
a pretty cool coincidence.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, we thank you for joining us, Maria. Don't forget, it's getwylo, WYLO.com. So check her out. Make sure you get those clothes washed, because have them come to you so you don't have to go out of your house, okay?
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Maria, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye, and thank you for having me and for this awesome opportunity.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
All right. That was good, huh? She's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
And
a
you know
great
what?
idea.
So far, the variety in the types of businesses that we've had on the platform so far. We had a candle business, we had a gym, cycling and fitness, and now we have a dry cleaning business. So it runs the gamut. So I appreciate that.
I mean, the idea was just so smart. I mean, I'm telling you, when I was using her stuff, it was, and the clothes came back perfectly. So it's a really good service. Really good service.
So
Right.
the concept, I think, is fantastic.
It really is. It really
That's the
is.
first thing. And the second thing is the name's pretty catchy. I mean, come on.
Mhm.
Wash your laundry online.
Wash your
Come
laundry
on.
online. It's actually great. Great. All right. So now on to the show. All right. Real quick, how the show works. Each host comes with hot topics they want to discuss, mostly based on discussions with you online or just whatever they wanted to talk about. Um, I'll pick one of the hosts to start us off. They'll tell us what's going on, ask a question to the other co-host, and we'll start a timer for the discussion. Then we'll just talk it out. And once time is up, you'll see Genji, as Z has named him. And Genji will let you know that your time is up and we need to move on to the next topic. All right, and the next host. So, remember, your comments, questions do help drive the conversation. We've had a bunch of comments already. By the way, Z is online. She said, "Hey guys." So she's
Hey,
taking a
girl.
look. She's out there.
Girl.
Mike Winter's been talking out there too. So, all right. So
Oh,
today, I think we'll start with. I think we'll start with East. East, is this a
You're-
truth, lie, or are we talking shenanigans?
oh, it's I think it's most definitely shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
And I want to start us off tonight with a story I saw on NPR about how, thank you, how the Hong Kong and Disneyland is closing again due to coronavirus, and they said that they have a spike in cases, and they consider a spike in cases in Hong Kong. I believe the article said it's a little over 1,400 cases in Hong Kong, and due to that, they're closing Disney again. Where in Florida, where coronavirus is raging across the state, they've decided to reopen, and they've had record amounts of cases in Florida for over the last week. So my question is, what's wrong with us as Americans? Why can't we get this together?
Is there enough time in the show for this, or what?
Obviously, I'm glad Avi, can you answer this question, please? What's wrong with us?
So first of all, when you talk about Disneyland, you need to talk about Disneyland Tokyo and the guidance that they gave the people coming in to visit, to ride the roller coasters, which was not to scream out loud and to scream silently and within your heart. Okay, that's the first thing. Then when you talk more about, what's wrong with us is the fact that we are not empathetic people as a whole. And what that means is that unless it hits your orbit, so think of a family member, a neighbor, somebody you work with, the postal worker, whatever. Until it hits your orbit, then people actually care. And so, great example is when it was hitting New York City. People started caring because in the Northeast, because they have some kind of family member or they know someone in the Northeast. Take state of Texas, care less about that. Now all of a sudden it's a flip-flopped around, and do we really care about what's happening in Florida? That's where I leave it.
Lizzie?
Again, I'm going to piggyback off of what Avi just said for a little bit. It's Florida. Like any type of business that starts in this country over the past few years begins in Florida. And so, am I surprised? No, but it begs the question, like, what are you guys doing? Like, do we really, once we get back to normal operating practices in this country, hopefully we all live through COVID, are we going to start a movement to, allow Florida to secede from the union? Because at this point, it's like, what good are you guys to us? Every bit of craziness comes
I have
from
some friends
Florida.
in Florida.
I have
So
friends in
first of all,
One of my good friends in New
so
York is Florida. Her parents live there as well. Her parents left for the summer to go up to New York City or go up to the New York City area, the Poconos, because they were just like, we're done with this. It's not. It's too crazy down here. I think that there is a certain level of entitlement in Florida. It's a very conservative Republican state, and so it's like we don't have to abide by the rules down here. But now that attitude is starting to, COVID them in the arse. And so, like he said, one day they had the highest number of positive cases for a single day. The next day, the highest number of deaths. It's endless. So I mean, I'm not going to Florida anytime soon at all. Even when I decide to leave my house.
Actually,
so no cruise in your future? Is that what you're saying?
I know my
Maybe
wife won't let me do a cruise.
maybe in the like I've never done a cruise that left from the United States or the Caribbean here. All of the cruises that I've done have been in Europe, mostly leaving from Finland or Sweden, or Estonia. So I'll do that, because they know how to social. Well, not Sweden. They know how to social distance over there. Here,
I'm on vacation right now, so I'm good. I'm hanging out.
We can tell.
where you at, Neo? Where you
But
at? Where
I
you
don't
at?
even know where this is. I don't know, but I'm somewhere.
so the other thing as well, and I can see the comments, is that in this country as a whole, generally speaking, is money rules, right? I mean, Texas didn't close for businesses for a reason. Florida doesn't go close for a reason, and neither did Georgia. They were reopening early because they want to make money. And the fact that people are dying in the city of Houston with no beds coming, and Miami has said that most of their beds in their area are 90% capacity. And the way the governor of Mississippi talked about the herd mentality is, it might be filled, the ICU might be filled with COVID patients, but what happens to the person that's done everything right and following everything, and they have an accident, and there's no bed for that person to go into the emergency or anything else like that because everyone else is dealing with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bigger issue. I mean, that's something that nobody really talks about as well. But money and lack of empathy, I think that pretty much sums it up. But why Florida? Well, my take is everybody migrating down there for retirement. Old school mentality stays with them, doesn't go anywhere. It just perpetuates.
Yep.
Let's have it back in like we.
My thoughts are along the lines of what I'm seeing from Vaughn Perry online. And he said, poor leadership is what's wrong with us. Profits over people. I mean, you think of DeSantis, Trump, all of those are just horrible leaders. So it's not surprising that those are the places where the U.S. is where it's worse. Florida is where it's at its worst. I mean, if you look at New York, it was at its worst, but that was because they had no idea what was going on. It just happened. But, they've reduced all of their hospitalizations and cases all down. But that's good leadership. DeSantis, Trump, horrible leadership.
But also another thing to consider, Neo, that Florida has a huge Latino community. People, and we know,
which DeSantis blamed everything on, COVID on.
Exactly. Initially blamed it on Latinos, or as he probably said, Hispanics incorrectly. But what we know is that this virus has been a huge hit on Black communities, on Latino communities. So I don't think that this is an accident. I don't think that this is a coincidence that we are taking, or that Florida at least is taking, this hands-off approach to a lot of these Latinos down there, a lot of people who are immigrants. So, I think that there is a focus here, an underlying focus here, an underlying story here about, okay, well, we don't care about these people. I mean, hello, Trump wanted to sell off Puerto Rico, a couple of months ago. So, there's no care or, idea that we need to help these people down here in Florida.
Right.
I mean,
Two
All
more
right.
minutes real quick. And then we can
East,
come
why
back
don't you go and get the last word in before we move on?
That's unfortunate for me because that's where I went to school. That's where I went to college. I went to Florida A&M, and it's there's a lot of good people, despite what you see in the media. There's a lot of good people in Florida, but when the overwhelming majority of them, when they vote for the leadership they have, these are the results they get. Florida man is real.
All right. All right. So I'm going to take the next one, actually. So this is, let's see, Truth, Lies, Shenanigans. This is definitely shenanigans, definitely, and lies. This might be a quick one. With my topic, my original plan was to beat up on Trump about coronavirus. I had a whole plan to talk about like the whole "we're so awesome if we keep debts under 100,000," which of course we know are like 140,000. And Fauci, the only person I trust, in the administration, is saying the numbers could equal the Spanish flu. 100 years ago, it had like 50 million. So it's crazy.
which is not originally from Spain, by the way, just
Of
so
course.
you know.
Yep. But as I was preparing for that, the clown said this.
But George Floyd, you said George Floyd's death was a terrible thing.
Terrible.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More white people, by the way. More white people.
All right, I got a simple question. What the hell? What the hell? So East, I need you to talk to me. What's up? What's up with this dude?
Stand up for your bro. Stand up for your boy. Stand up for your boy.
Don't put that on me.
What is up?
Do not put him.
More white people.
I mean, he clearly he can't handle racial issues with any class or dignity or respect. I mean, he always, this goes back to Charlottesville. There were good people on both sides. It doesn't matter that what matters is that African Americans and Latinos, people of color, are killed by the police at a higher rate than white people. First of all, it's not good that the police kill anybody. Let's just get
That was my point. What the hell? Why are we even like comparing?
Yeah.
Right, that's not a great thing. We don't want the police to kill anybody.
Yeah.
But the facts are what they are. So he's just trying to defray, and he probably saw the polls where Biden is ahead by 15 points, and he's trying to say something crazy to change the narrative in the media.
But also, it's also to stoke his base, right? So that's why he did it that way as well. But I think, looking at it, what's typical is the way he takes on a lot of things is, especially with women reporters, actually, is he belittles them.
Good point.
He also talks down to belittles, talks down, disrespects, questions their
That's a great point.
intelligence, et cetera. But also, as he has done throughout his entire presidency, run up and all that sort of stuff, he's also just taken something and just made it up, because I think the way I looked at it was the percentage of people that have been killed by police officers, the percentage is overwhelmingly black people, overwhelmingly, like something like 40%, something like that. And white people being killed by police officers is around 10%.
That sounds close.
So to me, 40% is a pretty big number. It's such a huge chunk. To be just blatantly wrong and ignorant about that, and then have the audacity to throw it back at the reporter and saying, "How dare you ask me such a question?" That whole exchange is just...
Lizzie?
No, I agree with everything that both East and Mr. Avi have said this evening. But this is one thing I always like to say to people, or I like to put out there. So let's give Trump this one stat. Let's say that more white people are being killed by police than black people, right? How is it my problem as a Black woman that white folks aren't speaking out about that?
Right.
That they are not.
That should be something they should be taught. It should be a bad
Exactly.
thing.
What does that have to do with me and trying to get justice for my people? And I think we have to start having these conversations. It's like, why is it that every time that a question is put out there about Black people and us trying to get justice for whatever, infraction, for whatever atrocity that is committed against us, there's this deflection. Well, white people this and white people that. Okay, I'll give you that. But then why aren't you speaking up? Why are you accepting this as the law of the land? Why is it my responsibility? Like, even with the All Lives Matter, they often come out and say, well, white people, blah, 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 blah. Okay, all lives, then why don't you speak up for the
Make it
other
your mission.
side?
Yep.
Exactly. We are talking specifically about Black lives and how they are not being respected, how they are being killed out in the streets. What does that have to do with your argument that you aren't even willing to fight for?
Yeah.
So I look at him. This is a guy. If you take it back to even before, this whole, even before he took, the presidency almost, 4 years ago now, this is a president who, in the 70s and the 80s was sued by the Justice Department of the United States for refusing to rent and sell property to Black people.
Yep.
Sued and lost and had to pay a fine and had to acknowledge that he was in, error with that. And so for everybody who talks about how he's not racist, show me how he's racist or whatever, it started way back, even before most of us were born. And it has carried over. He won't even say Black Lives Matter. He won't even acknowledge that Black Lives Matter. It's, both sides. No, we're not talking about both sides. Yep. We're talking about the injustice towards us. And if other people want to talk about, their issues, let them do that. But that onus is not on Black people.
Yeah,
you stand up for yours, I'll stand up for mine.
My first reaction was he sounded like David Duke from the KKK. Just, well, white people too. What's wrong? Like, it doesn't matter that Black people are being killed. White people are being killed too. And it's so he basically belittled the entire conversation. Like, it doesn't matter, and that really pissed me off.
Well, he does that.
Go ahead,
East.
Fight it out. Duke it out, boys. Duke it out. Duke it out.
I hope people just realize he's not going to, people keep on expecting him to say, oh, well, he might do the wrong thing. He will not do the right thing.
He will not.
Every time there's a 50% chance, flip of the coin, head to tail, he'll always do the wrong thing. So stop trying to expect this dude to say anything correctly on any social matter. Sorry, Avi.
Avi, real quick, go ahead.
He's still going for after his base, right? He's still stoking the base. That's what he does.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to read some comments online. We got some funny ones about the last one that I missed, so I want to make sure I get them out. Jacqueline Robinson said, I still can't believe Governor DeVires allowed Disneyland to reopen. Mike Winter said, brown people have not had great experiences on boats. Bama's might hand us an oar and make us row. Douglas Goodman said, Florida is God's waiting room. And then Julius Moore said he's a hero. Now, as far as the last topic we were just talking about, Zuleika says, exactly, what is any death by any cop okay? And why is it always a one-up? Jacqueline Robinson said, black people...
Good point. Good.
Jacqueline Robinson said, black people are over-policed and likely to be arrested for the same offenses that whites commit. Mike Winter said people don't believe that proportion number that Vaughn posted. Vaughn said 3.5 black people will die by police 3.5 times more than whites. So.
And let me just say this very quickly, Neo, just to reiterate. Like, Black people, BLM, we are not advocating for white folks to be killed by police officers. No one is saying that. We
Right.
don't want anybody to be killed by police officers.
Right.
Like, that's what we're working towards.
Right.
It just so happens that Black people are killed more by police officers.
All right, Lizzie, we're going to move on. Is this a truth, lie, or shenanigans?
This is a truth and shenanigans, and I'm about to call some of y'all out there. So I'm sure everyone on the panel, particularly Avi and myself, I haven't really socialized outside of this group with East and Neo in a very long time. But when I lived in New York, Avi, who lives in the Philly area, used to come to New York. We would go out to dinner all the time, right? I eat out a lot. I used to work in the industry, in the restaurant. What? I used to work in the restaurant
Not anymore.
industry. So I still order. But I understand the concept of tipping. So there was a store, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't believe in tipping. A lot of people are not only not big tippers, they're not tippers at all. So a story came out this week about our girl, actually your girl, not my girl. Our girl,
Who
your
you pointing
girl,
at? Who's?
all of y'all. All
I
of
don't know what
y'all.
you're talking about.
No,
This is not my girl.
Kylie Jenner, the fake billionaire in the United States, although even though she's not a billionaire, she still is worth, millions of dollars. But apparently, a TikTok user this week who used to work at two restaurants in New York City, Nobu and Tao, her name is Julia Carolan, and she did a video where she rated the worst celebrity tippers. And she listed Kylie Jenner as one of those worst celebrity bad tippers. She said that Kylie came into her restaurant. The bill at the end of the night was $500, and she tipped $20 on a $500 bill, basically 4%.
Let me play it.
So I am asking.
Let me play it before you ask.
Sure. Yes.
Rating celebrities I met while I was a hostess in Manhattan, part 1. So first off, we have the Hadid sisters. These two are literally so nice, I cannot tell you enough things about them. They're super polite and friendly with staff, which unfortunately is rare for celebrities. 10 out of 10. Next up, we have MadCon star Cameron Dallas. I kind of had a bad experience with him. Him and his friend called after we were closed and insisted on a table and kind of pulled a "do you know who I am" moment. 4 out of 10, he was rude. Next up, we have Mrs. Bieber. This is going to be controversial. I've met her a handful of times, and every time she was not nice. I really want to like her, but I have to give her like a 3.5 out of 10. Sorry. Next up, we have Kylie. She was fine, but she tipped $20 on a $500 dinner bill. Do with that information what you will. For that, I'm giving her a 2 out of 10.
She's silly. What's your question, Lizzie?
So my question to the group is, one, do you all tip? Are you guys good tippers?
Oh, great question. So, East.
Oh yeah, definitely. I understand that they depend on those tips. I say this is, prior to COVID, that's how they survive. I mean, it's critical. It's critical that we tip as consumers, but it's also critical that we demand excellent service also. So, there's a stereotype, especially for African Americans, that we as African Americans don't tip well.
You better tell it.
Speaking for myself, I mean, we normally tip between. I think the average is 15 to 20%, and anything, if we get great service, of course the tip is better. So, I don't know. I mean, I understand that these guys depend on tips to live. So yeah, I definitely tip.
Avi?
So just to back up for a second, remember that across the U.S., waiters, waitresses, they don't get paid minimum wage, right? They get paid way below minimum wage, and so right away they're starting at negative, not even an even feel. So when you're saying, hey, they depend on that, they genuinely depend on that because that's what makes the bulk of their take-home pay. Personally, I tip 20%. That's my default. And if it's bad, then I might drop it down a little bit, but it would have to be like really, really, really bad for me to do less. And it's been the case as well. But then again, I tend not to then go back to that place because if there's one bad person, then the rest can be horrible. But I think there's a couple of things. One is, why is this outdated law in place? Why can't they get minimum wage? That's number one. And number two is a lot of places are now starting to, especially restaurants, are starting to specifically say no tipping and include that as part of the service, uplift the cost of the meal, the dish or whatever. So that way they can pay the waiters, waitresses, the serving staff, busboys as well. They get part of that minimum wage. And I think that's a great.
Leo, what about you?
So, I mean, I usually tip very well, but I think my baseline is 15%. And what I do is, if I get the service I expect, then I give them more. Or if I get even better, then I'll give them even more. I've given some pretty good tips. It's a little thing with me and my wife. We actually kind of rate the servers and depend on it. I usually don't give anything less than. I mean, I won't give anything less than 10% if I'm just getting bad service. I still give a tip. I mean, unless they're just like awful people. But because I've had some of those, and of course I refuse to give a tip. But if someone's not bringing my water, they forget about me for the majority of the dinner, and they bring out I see them once maybe, then they might get 10%. Just saying. But most people, my standard's 15. But most times I'm giving 20 just across the board for the most part. Yeah. And I will give more. I have given a lot. I've given some big tips to people that I thought did fantastic jobs. So
I'll say this: we the three of us, Neil, Avi, and I, we had an experience. I don't know if you guys remember at Buffalo Wild Wings.
That was your first problem, going to Buffalo Wild Wings. But
settle down.
We were just hanging out. Avi was in town, and like Neil said, the waitress. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if she's having a bad day. Just straight up, just forgot about, ignored us. You don't forget about a customer. She just ignored us.
Yeah.
Like Neil, dehydrated. He couldn't get water.
I couldn't get water. I was pissed.
I think I was going to put in the order, and and then it got to the point we had to yell at this woman just to get her attention. So, we still gave a tip. And I think it's because but then that's rewarding for service. So I don't know where the line is.
So as someone who has worked in the service industry, the restaurant industry, I was never a server. I was always a hostess. But, as a hostess, I'm the first person that people see when they come into the restaurant. I'm the first person that the servers usually complain to before they go to the manager. I think one thing that people like both Avi and East pointed out, one thing that most of the population doesn't know, that the average base salary or base minimum wage for servers is under $3 per hour. Okay, so they're trying to make all of that money in tips.
That's why I usually give a tip. Even if I have bad service, I usually still give some type of tip.
The average problem that you have, and I'm not talking about a server with an attitude. That's something completely different. But the average problem that you have with your meal, whether it be it comes out late, the food is cold, it's not what you ordered or whatever, that has nothing to do with the server. That's the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the kitchen's problem. And the people in the kitchen don't get tips. They get a regular hourly wage, or the sous chef and the chef, they are on salary. So you are assigning, a punishment to a server that had nothing to do with why your order isn't what you initially put in. As for bad servers, think about it this way. Why Gingy? Or Gingy, right?
Gingy, yeah, that's what Z officially named him Gingy.
Think about it this way: when you have bad servers who give you poor service, you can get poor service going into CVS. You can get poor service going into Safeway, into any other industry, and that person still gets paid their just due.
Mm-hmm.
Only in the service industry, only in the restaurant industry do we judge people and decide, okay, I'm going to reduce you down to that $3 per hour because you and I had a conflict. And so I appreciate that people say my default is at least 18% or 20%. I've had horrible service at restaurants. But I also understand that I need to at least give them, because they still are working for their money, I need to at least give them 20%. And a lot of restaurants now are pool houses.
Mm-hmm.
So the one server that you have is not getting all of the tips that you give them, that everybody in their
they're pulling it. Yep.
It's an average
The bus
tips.
boys and all of that. Yep.
It's an average of tips. So for you to not tip, not only are you screwing that person, but you're screwing the other servers in the restaurant who may have been doing their job well, but you're also screwing the bus boys, the people behind the bar, etc. And so I think that's why we need to, reconsider how we view this whole tipping thing.
Yep.
And if you don't want to tip, go to McDonald's. Don't get service.
All right. East, go ahead. Last comment. We got to move on.
All right. So specific to this case, so is it incumbent upon wealthy people, not just celebrities, but wealthy people to tip like $100 on a $500 bill? I mean, did she get this? Did Kylie Jenner get service? We don't know. Yeah.
If you are crossing all of your Bentleys and all of diamonds and all of the things you have, you can tip more than
for the amount of money she makes. That's like pennies to her, literal pennies to her. I mean, you could give a couple extra pennies.
She could tip the bill. Like she could just double the bill.
Yeah.
And like I think all of you have said, I have tipped above and beyond in my lifetime because I always feel bad. Yeah. As someone who worked in the industry, I always feel bad because a lot of times these folks are not making any money.
Let's move on to the next one. I do want to point out some of these comments. Most people said, 15, 20%, they will tip. Mike Winter says bad service is exactly 15. Sharita Morrison said, yes, I tip, but if you forget everything or slow, I'm going to think about the tip. Then we had Jeanette said, I worked for years in restaurants, in multiple restaurants. They also are sharing their tips, so she pointed out what you said. Sharita said, I don't tip for drinks, baristas, non-alcoholic soda, and water. And then Zuleika said, we're not just paying a fair wage and adjusting prices to essentially include the tip. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. So, Mr. Avi. This is going to be your first official hot topic. So, Avi, is this a truth, lie, shenanigans?
It's a truth.
Truth.
So, one of my favorite punching bags is Dan Snyder. And as we all aware, that he has pretty much destroyed the Washington football team over time. But more importantly, he has always claimed that the name has always been respectful and honoring Native Americans. And finally, due to not because people weren't buying tickets, but because sponsorship money was going away, he's decided to change the name. But from my perspective is that even though he has changed the name, it's not as if he's done it with an open mind, with understanding. It's more as a petulant teenager being told to take the trash out and acting very much in a old rich white guy who can do whatever he wants mentality. And now that somebody's threatening it, it's he just won't even admit that what he's done is wrong, or he was wrong before rather, and that this should have been done earlier. Even the worst PR sports league in this country, the NFL, even they are trying to rectify this whole issue, especially around Black Lives Matter.
And just to clarify,
So
Dan Snyder is the owner of the Washington football team, which was previously named what?
We don't say that here. We don't say that here.
I tried. Go ahead. I want to give Avi's $10 on the board.
Oh,
What's your question?
We're going to talk
What's your
after
question,
this.
Avi? What's your question?
My question is, should he be forced to actually just sell the team because he's an idiot?
Forced to sell the team?
Because this is... Or should he just be brought back to high school and somebody teaches him, the basics of common decency or the basics of common sense? Or what's really worse is that he used to run a communications company. That's how he made his millions. And everything he's done since owning the team has been just poor PR from the get-go. The way I describe him is he's the worst fantasy football owner I've ever seen.
You're fortunate and you have a sports journalist and a sports fanatic neither one of those are me, to help you through this.
Oh, my bad. So, sports journalist this side, or which?
Why don't we start with East, the fanatic, and then we'll go to the sports journalist.
Well, to answer your question, if every idiot owner was forced to sell the team because they were acting like an idiot, it would be a high turnover in all the sports.
That's very true.
Yeah, especially this guy. This guy has turned off a once passionate fan base. He really did it in the first 5, maybe 10, 5, definitely within the first 10 years of his ownership. It's unfortunate that he didn't change the name because it was offensive. He changed it because FedEx, Pepsi, Nike said, we're not dealing with you. They said, we're not messing with you anymore over this name. So, and he's still, like you said, Avi, being a petulant little child about the name. This is something that should have been celebrated. This name change could have been celebrated. It could have.
That's a good point.
It could have brought positive attention to the franchise that's had so many negative, so much negative media over basically his whole tenure. This could have been the one positive thing that Dan Snyder could have ushered.
He could have embraced it. Yep.
Spotlight. And he still, obviously said it, he flubbed it up. He just can't get it right.
Yeah. All right, Lizzie, your thoughts?
So I wholeheartedly 100% agree with each perspective. You can use this. There's another controversy that's happening right now in the WNBA with one of the co-owners of the Atlanta team, the Atlanta Dream, and she has come out, and her name is Kelly Loeffler. And she has come out and made some horrible comments about Black Lives Matter, about how she doesn't care, how she thinks that they are a terrorist group.
Senator,
yep. Exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry. But also co-owner of the Atlanta Dream.
Yep.
And she's not in any jeopardy at this moment of losing her ownership of the team. And surprisingly, the WNBA has been very slow to respond to her. The NBA, they don't care about the ladies. They just doing their own thing. They trying to focus on the bubble. But you look in the past, we've had, Rod Serling, the former owner of the Clippers, who was a racist in the NBA, owning that team for decades. It's not like people didn't know who he was and what his platform was about. It was because his nonsense blew up on social media that he kind of got exposed and it pointed the finger at him and then again at the NBA. So no, I don't think, Dan Snyder should be forced more than anybody else should be forced to sell the team. What I do think, however, is that we need to have, some serious conversations about these owners and what their ultimate goal is, because it's not just Dan Snyder. If you look at the conversations that the owners were having about Colin Kaepernick since 2016, about the influence that President Trump had on these owners, about Colin Kaepernick, how they testified that in his collusion trial, his collusion case, how they testified that Donald Trump influenced their decisions. Maybe we need to start having a bigger conversation about, okay, well, what is your ultimate goal with the team? Are you for the team or are you for your players? And then just one last thing, and then we need to remember, like, all of these owners, their end goal is money. Their end goal is money. And so that's why we saw Dan Snyder all of a sudden, be like, okay, I got to get in line. No one had challenged his dollars before. And yeah, I'm happy that, FedEx finally stood up and Nike finally stood up and Walmart and Target and whatever. But where have you guys been? This is not a new issue. This did not just come about in the past 30 days with the George Floyd protests. These issues have been on the docket for decades about changing the name, the racist name of this team. And so I would call them out too. Like, okay, you guys are doing this for PR. You're not doing it because you feel some affinity with Black folks and you feel bad. You're doing it because it's affecting your brand.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't have much time to get my comments in. So that's
sure
good.
You do. Dance after Gingy.
Go for it.
We don't have to go for it. We don't have to, I'm just kidding. No, as most of you guys know, I haven't been a fan of changing the name until recently, obviously. Yeah, because the name, I personally feel that, over time, words, meanings can change. And, I don't know when the last time, the name was used as an actual slur, contrary to the actual N-word being used as an actual slur towards other people. So, of course, the meaning persists. But I understand the historical meaning of the word. And, of course, I get that, it's time, given where we are in society now. I just think it's time. I mean, it's probably been time. And I've been willing to change the name for a while in my head. I just was going to disagree with you guys as long as I could.
You were just going to argue just because.
There were a few times I was just arguing just because.
Contrarian.
With that being said, let me point out some comments online because there were some good ones I saw. Rob B. Rob B's online.
Neo, what's the N word you were talking about? I didn't understand.
Oh, I'll never use that word. I don't use that. I don't use that in my.
What's the R word? What's the R word?
I can't say that either. So, only because I'm not paying my $10. All right. So Rob B's on. He said he had an opportunity to make the name change with the decorum years ago. It took financial pressure to implement the change. Jam is on. He says there's been an opportunity just sitting there anytime he wanted the DMV behind him. Jeanette says narcissists flock together. Von Perry, you know how to force him to sell, right? He says, stop buying tickets in Washington merchandise.
Ooh, in your face.
All right.
But
Von Perry called me out. He said, Neil, how many Native Americans do you know, though? There's a reason for that genocide, and Redskins had a lot to do with that. Very good point, Vaughn. Thank you.
Can I just say something also, too, as it relates to some of the outrage in DC, but because not everybody is on the same page in DC about whether or not the name should be changed. However, this is not our first sports team to have a name change.
Oh yeah.
I didn't see all of this outrage when the Bullets changed their name to the Wizards back in the 90s,
Which is
and
a
they had a
crappy
very
name,
valid,
but
they had a very valid reason for.
yeah,
I mean, DC used to be the
the
murder
murder
capital of
capital.
the world.
Hmm.
And Abe Poland was like, I don't want to celebrate that, so let's change the name. And so I'm just like, okay, you guys are acting like it's the end of the world as we know it. We no longer refer to people like, oh, I'm always going to call them the offensive name. No, you'll get over it because no one refers to the basketball team now as the Bullets. They're the Wizards or the Whiz Kids. Like we have embraced it, we have accepted it, and so change means that you have to, progress and move forward within yourself. And so, let's honor the Native Americans and not be just like, okay, you are a redskin.
Yeah. And then last one,
That's
Daria
$10,
Winter
right?
said, but we the
No.
people kept buying Redskin tickets, as you say, the team with its name. Was
That's another
popular.
$10 right there.
So gotta
You're
stop
supposed to be my
buying.
friend.
Change the
You're
culture.
supposed to be my friend.
That's both of y'all said the R word. That's $10
You're supposed to
each.
be my friend.
I was quoting. Nope.
Oh, that
Liz,
is a
Liz made it very clear. She made it very clear that we are not counting quotes. I was quoting online.
Jam. I need Jam to come in and make a ruling here.
Oh, that's a Liz E ruling. Sorry. Otherwise, Liz E, she already hit her $100 mark.
Whatever. He cheats so badly. It's like,
Challenge one.
If that's the case, she already hit it like a few times.
I appreciate now that she's on the show because at least she, as another young lady, she understands how like they come for me. They come for me.
Whatever. All right. So let's move on to the next topic. We ran over a little bit on this one. So let's go to East. We're going to try to get two more in, and then we're going to shut it down.
All right.
East, fire shenanigan.
This is, I would say, shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Okay.
Pretty true. Yeah.
Shenanigans.
So I think we can go through this kind of quickly. I saw Jay Williams, ESPN NBA basketball analyst, on Twitter. He went on Twitter to talk about how the NBA players in the bubble are complaining about the conditions in the bubble. And I don't know if you want
I'll play it.
to quickly.
NBA brothers, you cannot be tone deaf right now in this current environment. We all know the life that NBA players live. You are blessed. Get a chance to be in private
You
planes.
disagree, huh?
You get a chance to have millions of dollars in your bank account. You live a different level of life. If you want to complain about the anxieties you have from COVID-related issues, I get it. Complain about that. I want you to think about people who are everyday working people who are making minimum wage, trying to make ends meet, that are going to factories, that are going to really harsh working environments, where if anything, maybe their employers are doing less to ensure their safety because they're trying to increase the bottom line. They're trying to earn and make money back from all the money that they've lost through the times that a lot of these states, individually governed, have been dealing with this issue. So when I see guys that are going into a $1 billion bubble, and are getting food delivered to them, that have beds to sleep in, you can't complain about that. Not while you're making millions of dollars, not while your employer is going through drastic measures to protect you while they're still paying you, when that's not the case for everyday, real working Americans. That bothers me. That bothers me.
All right, so my question is, although players in the NBA making millions of dollars, do they have the right to complain about what they feel their working conditions are?
Lizzie last. Avi?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they can complain, but you just got to keep it in perspective, right? They still make millions. I mean, they still work for it, right? It's not like as if they wake up and all of a sudden they know how to shoot the ball or whatever. They can complain, but you got to put it in perspective that like everything Jason Williams just said is true, right? There are people out there who are working hard, just trying to make minimum wage, or who lost their job because the restaurant industry is going down badly, et cetera, et cetera. But they're allowed to complain. Why can't they complain? But keep it within reason, right?
My thought, real quick, is I agree with what he said. Shoot, I mean, like you say, you can talk about COVID all you want, complain about that, but one thing I didn't understand is he trying to say that they should just go to work anyway? Is that what they're saying? Or are they complaining about the conditions in the bubble?
He basically said, "Shut up, and dribble."
Wait, but I got to be clear. Is he saying that you should just shut up and work? Like you should, if they say that we're going to continue the season, you should be, or is he saying that people are complaining about the conditions in the bubble?
Conditions in the bubble.
That's what I thought he was saying.
But why can't they complain about the conditions in the bubble?
Because their work environment is like cush.
It's a bubble. They can't even leave the bubble. Imagine being in an environment, at least all of us, even though I haven't left my house since mid-March except to go across the street to the grocery store, we have the opportunity, the option to leave. The NBA is like, okay, we're going to force you to finish out this season.
Nobody's forcing anybody. They can choose not to, and they can lose their salaries and everything else.
And that's a force. But
that's a force.
It is a force. It's an employment force.
It's not. Nobody's forcing them.
It is a force.
Then you're asking me to forfeit my job because I'm not complying to your bad conditions. You and I have the opportunity to leave our house and to go outside. They cannot go anywhere. Anywhere. They can't have any visitors. They can't go outside. We had 2 players this week who are now quarantined again because they broke the rules to go get some carryout outside. Like it's very strict. Okay. But my point is that we all know that in this day and age, the way you complain is through, and you get things done is through social media.
Yes.
You don't get things done just because you call up your boss, your CEO, and say X, Y, Z, or whatever. You put the spotlight nationally on your company, and that's how you affect change in this country. It may not be to everyone's liking, but that's how things happen. And the WNBA, Jason Williams, did the exact same thing. It wasn't just the multi-million-dollar players. The WNBA players who make no money, they make a fraction of what the NBA players make. And they too were on social media saying, look at the conditions we're living in. Look at the food that they're giving us. Look at how we're living and being expected to show up, to practice every day, and to play these games for a league that's still going to make millions off of us. Like, I have no problem with them voicing their complaints. Like, and the NBA, let's be clear, the NBA has money to do better by their players. The fact that they're giving them, like basic cafeteria lunch food is ridiculous.
Are they giving them just cafeteria? I don't think they're just giving them cafeteria lunch food.
Did you see the pictures?
I didn't.
At least they're giving the WNBA players basic
maybe I complain about that if they're giving them cafeteria food. I get that.
It's horrible.
I just want to respond to something you said. First I want to read what Z said. I'm sorry, but if I didn't like my working condition, my only option is to leave. It's not a go. That's what I think. I keep seeing force. Nobody's forcing anybody. They can choose to leave like those 2 guys did. And then there's a consequence to that. If I have a job and they tell me that I got to go back to work, I'm like, no, I'm not going back to work right now until you get things safe or that's a choice. So it's a choice to.
You still get paid, all right?
Well, no, I won't still get. No, if I choose, I'm saying I may choose to leave my job if they're telling me I have to go back. No, that's a choice that I make. Nobody's forcing anybody to do anything.
But why can't you voice your complaint? Why can't you voice your displeasure? Because it's not just affecting you, it's affecting your coworkers as well. And in a COVID situation, once you leave the bubble, you come back, you still got to be quarantined when you come back. Like there's a lot that goes into this. I think we're asking a lot of these players, and not at least we're in terms of the league asking a lot of these players to be down there, to be away from their families. Again, they can't be in contact with anybody else. I have a former colleague,
especially in Florida.
Especially in Florida.
That's
I have a former
a good
colleague
point.
that's down there. And it goes for the journalists as well. The journalists are also on lockdown. Like it's a bubble.
I mean, it makes sense to me. If you don't want to have the season, you don't want to do it, don't do it. I mean, they have a contract. They're not going to be like fired.
Why give them the bare minimum? If throughout the regular season you've been giving them what they deem to be.
I've got to see these pictures you're talking about. I just can't imagine what you're saying as like cafeteria food in the same sense that
it's not. It's not.
I read an article in Axios Sports, and what the reporter
went by already.
Yeah, they said the reporter said that the food does look bad, but it tastes a lot better than it looks, and that's kind of like minor to the conversation. You know, this is a difficult situation. Let's be honest. Like, this is unprecedented. That's what you tell your kids, right? Yeah, I know.
They go to Nana's house. No, it looks bad, but it tastes good. It tastes good. Like the NBA can afford to do better if they are, requiring all this sacrifice from their players at the bare minimum. They can afford, and I guarantee you think the NBA owners and officials who are down there are eating the same stuff? No, they're not.
I don't know. Anyway, we got to move on. I just want to do some comments. There's a lot of back and forth on whether it's a force or not a force. Douglas Goodman said economic leverage, and I assure you it's the owners who will be raking in the bucks, not the players. That's a good point. Vaughn Perry said, let's talk about how they're dogging Deladon.
Our girl, our home girl.
Next show.
Girl.
All right, there's one more comment I saw. Oh, he said, Mike Winter said, you better not come from my Duke people.
They are not above reproach, and I'm a Dookie fan. They are not above reproach.
Oh, they're not. Okay. All right. So let's see. The last one. I'll take the last one. So the last one is going to be our friend.
Let's go.
Nick
let's go to what it really is.
Hold on. Not yet. All right. So basically, Nick Cannon just got fired from Viacom for saying some supposedly anti-Semitic things. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. And supposedly anti-Semitic. I didn't hear it, but anyway, I'll just go ahead and play it.
Let's go to what it really is then. When we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful, that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less.
Enough.
And where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight.
In order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough torrential environments, so they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality.
All right, so he continued.
It's on the sweatshirt, Liz.
Wait.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what?
It's on the sweatshirt.
I'm gonna let y'all take this. All
right, hold on. So he continued. I say all that to say that in context in which we speak, whether it's Jewish people, white people, Europeans, Illuminati, they were doing that as survival tactic to stay on the planet. He said black people are the true Hebrews. He referenced a number of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, including, and I quote, the Rothschilds, centralized banking, the 13 families, the bloodlines that controlled everything outside of America. Then he actually, and for those that don't know, I didn't mention this earlier, for those that don't know, Nick Cannon, he hosted America's Got Talent. He's hosted The Masked Singer. He's got the show Wild 'N Out, which is the show he was actually fired from, and that's on BET. And anyway, so Nick Cannon responded. He said, for those that don't know, hold on. So he said, Viacom has been mistreating and robbing our community for years. Cannon added underpaying talent on their biggest brands like Love and Hip Hop, all of BET programming, and of course Wild 'N Out. Viacom's goal to keep me from providing for my family and lineage will be foiled. They can try to kick me when I'm down or force me to kiss the master's feet in shame, in public for shame and ridicule, but instead I stand firm on my square and my fist in the air, repeating my mantra, you can fire a boss. He also said in a pleasant turn of events, and the best blessing in all of this hurtful attack is the outpouring of love and support from the Jewish community. It's been amazing. I've spoken to many rabbis, clergy, professors, co-workers who offer their sincere help. I must apologize to my Jewish brothers for putting them in such a painful position. All right.
I think Liz is.
Yeah, Lizzie. Okay, Lizzie. All right, Joe, go ahead.
I take back what I said. I said I was going to kick it to, my fellow gents first, but I want to take this right off the bat because Antonio brought up a good point about Nick Cannon's statement where he was talking about all of the issues and the problems with Viacom. Where was he day before yesterday speaking about Viacom?
Yeah, I agree with that.
The only issue and problem with Viacom came when they fired his arms.
Otherwise, he's happy with the money.
Happy with the money. He was happy with the checks. So spare me all of, Viacom is this big evil empire. You were fine with the empire as long as they were paying you, as long as they were coddling you. And might I add, and this is on the internet, if you go back to, so Nick Cannon had a visual podcast in 2018, 2019, one episode which he filmed on Howard University's campus in Founders Library, where he's talking to a member of the Nation of Islam, and they're talking about interracial dating. And these are the same devils that he just basically described in that video that you just posted. But he said at the very beginning of that interview, why can't I date a black woman? Why can't I date a white woman? Why y'all on me about dating a white woman? And so the young man that he was speaking to was talking about how he wasn't in tune with interracial dating and about how black men need to be focused on black women or whatever. And Nick Cannon then steadfastly stated, I can love black people and date my white girls too. My ex-wife is biracial. He acknowledged that his kids are light-skinned. His Mariah Carey, who is, I love my Mariah, and y'all better not say nothing nasty about Mariah. I love Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey's mom is a white woman from Long Island, New York. Her dad is an Afro-Latino, okay? And so the kids are odd. When you look at them, they look more biracial mixed than they do black, if you will. But Nick Cannon, in that interview was, defending his right to date a white woman, to be with a white woman. And so now all of a sudden we talking about devils and how they have come down against it. You cannot have it both ways, bruh. Yeah. You need to pick your side and choose it. And so you also need to, and this is my last point before I kick it to you all, I've been arguing about this online all day. And what people need to realize, because people are now saying, oh, boycott Viacom, they had no right to fire him. They had every right to fire him. What you need to go back and look at the contract that you signed with the company that you work for. There's a morals clause. And they can fire you for inflammatory speech or inflammatory actions, especially if it's something that's made publicly. You need to go back and try to figure out, okay, well, have I said things that's going to offend my company? Because when you speak publicly, you're not just speaking for yourself. You're also speaking for your company. Yeah. And people associate Nick Cannon with the shows that he has via Viacom. Right. And so if they feel that they are being misrepresented, they're going to fire him.
Let me try to get Avi and Easton here. All right, Avi.
Just to be clear, are you done, Liz, or?
Go ahead, Avi, go ahead.
So.
I got hair, you don't, but yeah, I'm done.
I got hair right here. So after listening to that diatribe, my first question to everyone here is, can we all safely assume that he's also a flat earther, or is that just me? Just me then, okay. All right, fair enough. So the grammatical errors, the leap of logic, the everything, it's just completely illogical, what he said. I mean, I don't understand how any of that is even close to being scientifically truth. It reminded me of the In Living Color sketch when they had Farrakhan come on the Starship Enterprise in Star Trek, and he went off.
Our younger viewers may not know what In Living Color is, but
and that's what it sounded like to me. It was a bad comedy sketch, and the fact that he has believers is slightly disturbing.
East?
Just for a little background, the guest on the show was a guy named Professor Griff, who was in the rap group Public Enemy. And Professor Griff has been accused in the past of making anti-Jewish statements. So just to put that out there. I agree with Avi. Like, that conversation, I watched the whole thing, the whole 90-minute thing. I rewatched the part where he was talking about that exact clip. Mm-hmm. It was like a flashback to about 92, 93, sitting in college with other guys smoking marijuana, and they started having these philosophical discussions about, ancient times and the original Asiatic man. I'm like, oh God, really? Like, we had this conversation 25, 28, 30, almost 30 years ago. And now to the point that, and I heard.
Hold on. You're gonna get interrupted.
Hold up, real quick. Gotta dance for a little bit.
Okay, the other guys.
Now you asked the way you asked the question, Neil, was interesting, because you asked, he allegedly made anti-Semitic remarks in the post, and that's why I was looking explicitly for like a anti.
I looked and I was like, I get the references that he made, but I didn't hear specific anti-Semitic things that he said. Go ahead.
I was, and maybe I'm naive. I'll just put it out there. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm not enlightened enough. I'm not part of the Illuminati, as Nick Cannon. I'm not enlightened. I don't know.
I couldn't hear it either.
Maybe I didn't hear it. And so then you fast forward to Viacom saying that, it's almost, he said in a weird way, it almost legitimizes what Nick Cannon was talking about. Like, it, he almost, like, Viacom firing Nick Cannon for quote unquote speaking the truth, it legitimizes almost everything he said. So it's almost like, I won't say Viacom shouldn't have fired him. I mean, like Liz said, I don't know what's in the contract, their morals clause. Like, they could have fired him, just for uttering, the words he did, But specifically for anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish statements, I need somebody else to help me out to explicitly say, he said this. This is almost like the R word for Native Americans. What did he say specifically?
I think it had more to do with the fact that he was referencing people who were anti-Semitic and maybe referencing some of their conspiracy theories that they've had. But I tried to look and research a bit on some of the history, particularly of the Rothschilds, and they're pretty. And they definitely are heavily anti-Semitic. Of course, he referenced Farrakhan, and we know Farrakhan has had a lot of anti-Semitic rhetoric.
He said they lack compassion. He said that he referenced them as savages. And again,
Lizzie, before you go into that, can I make a point real quick before you go into that? All right. So, what I think, this was my thoughts when I was listening to it, and I know we're going over time on this one, but so when he was talking about melanin-less people acting as savages, I think what he was doing was he was blurring the lines between historical context and current context. So he was talking in a way, because I've heard those theories before, and in a way I've had similar theories as to how things happened historically. I'm talking like Paleolithic era and things like that. I'm not talking about, and I think that's what he was talking. And that's why it was confusing to some people, because I think he was talking about how, let me, hold on, before I do that, let me show you. So, this here, there's this black couple in Nigeria that had a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child, right? And this was relatively recent, I think a couple of years ago. And it's his child, biological child, DNA test, all that good stuff. And he's blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white child. And they had it between them.
Daughter did not look happy.
I mean, there are lots of theories that, we all started in Africa, right? That all humanity started in Africa. And so, what if, and this is what he was trying to talk about, I think, savages, and I think he was really talking about in the previous era. I don't think, and that's why I say he was blurring the lines, talking about white people. So he was talking about how they had to act as savages. I mean, what if, they were, they were sent away, they had to migrate away because they were different in some way, because how did we diverge from white and black and all that other stuff? I mean, what if they were so he's saying they had to fight.
If what you're saying is right, then Pangea happened, all the break of the continents,
all of that.
And then humans had to adapt because of their environments, so hair color and all that sort of stuff. Okay, he didn't really talk about that.
But that's what
his
he was
connection that he was making.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't make those connections that he needed to make. Right.
Those were strings that he.
I think he was just repeating words that he'd heard from other people without the full context.
It was diatribe. It was utter nonsense.
You're not giving credence to what we accuse white folks of doing, and that's using coded speech. Like, just because he wasn't explicit and said, I hate Jews, or Jews are XYZ, doesn't mean that that's not what he was saying.
That's
like,
Douglas
we deal with
saying dog whistles, which
we deal with coded speech all the time. But I challenge, and I know we are at the end of the line for this topic here. I challenge everyone to go to CNN and look at the article that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a member of the Nation of Islam, who wrote about why we are not calling out anti-Semitism in Hollywood and in sports. Wrote it yesterday. So he wrote this even before Nick Cannon came out with this controversy, but he wrote it in the vein of Deshaun Jackson, Steven Jackson, and Ice Cube. And I guarantee you, it will give you, especially coming from a Muslim, it will give you a little bit of a different perspective of how we are being hypocritical when it comes to the anti-Semitism in this country and how it's almost accepted in our community.
Yeah.
The Sacha Baron Cohen a special that he did for HBO or Showtime, where called "This Is America." He goes undercover as Borat, whatever.
Crazy.
Oh my gosh, the people just were
The people were
free
pretty
with
bad.
the anti-Semitic remarks, and I was just flabbergasted how they needed very, very little prodding just to get some of those thoughts and those words. I was incredibly stunned. I think when I saw that whole series, that's what came out. That's what I got out of it is, yeah, people in this country are also anti-Semitic, very badly.
You know, I think Nick Cannon should have apologized personally, because again, I'm not defending him. All I'm saying is I think he just made a mistake. I think he got lost in his thoughts and he wasn't clear. And so, and I know even on this show, I sometimes get lost in my thoughts and I forget words or I don't make connections between my thoughts and things like that. So I'm not defending him necessarily, because I believe he does have some close to racist views. Similar to Farrakhan in many ways. But again, black people have been held back for a very long time, and how else do you get up to their level? So, all right. So, that was a deep one. Man, we should have ended on something lighter. I should have done like tipping last or something. but that's really good. So,
we got to continue that one somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've touched on some of that a little bit, but I think it's something really good. But all right, so that's our hot topic session of the show. Great conversation between all you guys. Really good. So now we're going to move on to our game and our game show. All right. So this game is called Quick and Dirty. All right. East, do you have the scoreboard?
Oh, nah.
Oh, you got one job. One job.
No, I have one job.
Scoreboard anyway, so no need to have it because y'all are cheaters.
All right. Well, while you get that together, East, today's game is Quick and Dirty. I will display a topic, and the app will randomly display a letter. You will have to provide a reply to that topic that starts with that letter. All right, the fastest reply with a good answer, and good being very subjective, me subjectively judging that. All right. So, for example, all right, you got reasons we need guns. All right, let's see. Oh, is it stuck? Of course, the game is stuck. Let me see.
So then you just call out a letter.
All right, hold on. Yep, let me hold on.
Hey, hi, Remy. Hi.
Here we go. All right, reasons we need guns, starting with the letter M.
Machismo.
Ooh, good one.
All right.
Morning
Crazy
breakfast.
mofo out here.
Yeah,
mofo.
Mofos.
I would have given you mofos. All right. So, East, were you able to get the scoreboard, or we're going without it?
Nah, can you? Yeah, you gotta go without it. I was trying to pull it up real quick.
I'm all for it.
All right, you ready? Let's go. All right. Next one. Somewhere you find STDs. Ready? We're going to find out the letter. Hold on.
You're gonna pay $20.
With the letter E.
Ejaculation.
I'm going to go with that. We're going to go with that. Well, how about I take ejaculate? All right, we'll go with that. So Lizzie gets a point. All right.
All right.
All right. We're going to go with something you binge on. Ready? Let's see what letter they give us. C. Something
Chocolate.
you binge on.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Okay. All right. Chocolate works. Let's go.
Yep.
Good answer.
Chocolate, that's fine. Get that.
A bad time for a boner.
When a teacher calls you up to the front of the class.
Wait a minute. Starting with the letter. That is a bad time for a boner. Starting with the letter A.
Afternoon.
Any better answers? Come on.
See, they have nothing.
They have nothing. Point to Liz. Come on. Y'all got to do better than this.
All right.
You can't let Liz take it with afternoon. Come on. All right. Something you drink. Starting with the letter Y.
Yahoo!
Yeah.
Oh,
Yay.
she beat you. She beat you to Yahoo. Damn, Liz is running with it, man. All right.
Is that this? They still have Yahoo drink?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's basically chocolate milk. Come on.
Yeah, it is chocolate milk. With a lot of sugar.
Chocolate beverage.
All right. A place that sucks. Starting with the letter
I could go any.
T.
Texas.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I'm going with Texas. Texas is a good answer. Texas kind of sucks.
The whole state, huh? The whole state.
Tulsa doesn't suck. Too bad. Sort of.
They had that rally.
Well, of course, yeah. Well,
And the master.
the person who led the rally is the one that sucks. But anyway. All right, terrible music. Rob Bertrand had yolks for the earlier one. Texas.
Lambada.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Is that how many points is that?
That's 4.
Uh-oh. One more for Liz and she wins. Hey, come on, guys. Y'all gotta do better than this.
See?
I don't know. I need a better host.
Weird place to be nude. Excuses. Weird places to be nude. Oh, Jam said Trump's house. That was funny. The last one. That would have definitely won, Jam, by the way. That would have been top. Trump's house. All right. Weird place to be nude. Come on. R.
Directory.
The road.
You got a better one?
The rectory?
I'm going
in
with-
the church?
I'm going with rectory. Come on, East. This was a bad game for you, East. All right, good job, Liz. Good job.
Finally, they let me play. Like, oh my God. Woo!
You finally win. All right. So that means Lizzie gets the last word. So, Lizzie, start thinking about your last word. Your last thought for the day. All right?
Yeah.
All right. So, last minute shout outs. Any last minute shout outs for anybody? Anybody want to shout out some people? We got a lot of people online. We got Rob, Monica, Jam, Jacqueline, Troy. What's going on, Troy?
Shout
Z
out
was
to
on
Mike
earlier.
Crew. So what's up, Mike, Vaughn Perry, Ernest Cooper? I saw at the very last minute because I called him out in the early segment.
Chris Crop. I saw him. Douglas Goodman. Good comments, Douglas.
Hey, Doug.
Daria Winter.
Sorry, that's Mike Winter's mom. Hey, Daria.
Sharita. Great interaction. Good stuff online, guys. So that's it for shout outs. All right. So that's our show then. Avi, welcome. Thank you for joining us for the show. You did a really good job, buddy.
You said what you say. It was a bit patronizing there. Did you do a really good job?
You did, yeah, you better than I expected. What do you?
How low were the expectations?
All right, I'd like to thank all you guys for joining us. We hope you had a good time, maybe gained a new perspective. Don't forget, like, follow, subscribe at TLS Live Show or at www.tlslive.show. We always have great discussions on our Facebook page, so you got to check it out. Lizzie is our moderator for the page. She puts some incredible articles and some great discussion topics. All right, this Sunday, we have Dr. Johnson is coming back. You may remember her as the veterinarian who talked to us about COVID. So she's going to come back and she's going to be a guest host this time. And that show is at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And Liz E., you are the winner. So we're going to give you the last word.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I just want everybody to be safe. The numbers are surging. People are still dying. Please social distance, everyone. Wear your mask. Don't go out in big groups if you don't have to. If we take care of these small things, we'll be taking care of everybody else. So be safe. Just be safe.
Yep. Everyone be safe. Great last thought. Appreciate it. Good job, Avi. We'll see you later, man.
You still owe me dinner? You still owe me a sushi dinner?
All righty. Lizzie, have a good one.
Oh, yeah.